How have horses been mutated by the Imperium to feed their endless war machine? How are they even effective when facing the warriors in Warhammer 40,000? Why are they a good match for the Death Corps of Krieg? Friends, let's find out. And welcome to another 40k video. Let's start with the horses themselves. How are they looked on in the future? Are they cared for, or are they just another resource for the Imperium to suck dry? With the spread of humanity throughout the galaxy, many of mankind's domesticated animals found new roles amongst the stars. Horses and other equines were to prove invaluable on worlds where fuel resources were not always available, whilst natural animal fodder was abundant. Natural selection and mutation were to play a part too, and horses quickly adapted to the atmospheres and foods of many different habitats. Riding animals were developed that were faster and had more endurance than any earthbound horse. Draft animals grew to great size so that they would have dwarfed ancient shires. Shires they're referring to shire horses. But I bet they're not as quick as fire mares. At the other end of the scale, horses the size of cats came to be bred as meat animals and pets. Nor are horses restricted to human space, for they have been adapted and adopted as riding or draft animals by other races, especially the orcs, who also like to eat them. That lore there, including the reference to the small horses the size of cats, is from the original Rogue Trader, so it might be a little questionable now. Horses are used as prime movers in primitive societies, frontier worlds, and on some advanced planets where motorized transport is undesirable for some reason. Human planets with histories of protracted isolation often came to rely on the horse, and sometimes develop a religious or deeply felt taboo against mechanical transport. Orcs are especially enthusiastic horse users, and on most orc worlds they form the usual mode of transport. Orc horses tend to be hot-blooded and bad-tempered, and the Rogue Trader here tells us, as would anyone who was forced to endure an orc sitting on them. Now we're going to draw on the Siege of Vrax and focus on the horses used by the Death Corps of Krieg. We'll cover the horses and their changes first. The Death Riders mount is a heavily genetically modified version of the original Terran horse that no longer resembles its ancient ancestor. Having been designed to endure the worst battlefield conditions, its physique is far stronger than the normal horses, with its hind legs being able to clear trenches and power the creature through thick mud or over rubble. Its splayed feet are often better adapted to moving in heavy terrain. The creature is almost hairless. It no longer has a tail, only the remaining stump, and its mane has almost entirely been bred out, leaving just short bristles, which do not become tangled and require no maintenance. Its neck is no longer the usual length either. It is longer with broad shoulder and girth. Psychologically, these creatures are far more aggressive than their domestic ancestors, with drug injectors being used to make the creatures fearless in the face of any enemy. In battle, the creature will charge directly into an enemy and will not be startled by weapons, fire or explosions. Due to the creature's unstable body chemistry, it has to be constantly monitored by its rider and stabilized with additional chemicals. This means the creature can sustain injuries that would kill lesser creatures, but leaves many with horrible scars from previous wounds. It is equipped with armour to protect its head and a respirator system to protect it, how like its rider. The mask protects it from poison gases and toxic atmospheres, and obviously lets it operate in those sort of environments. These creatures are grown in vitogenic cloning vats deep below Krieg, with production being carefully monitored by the Adeptus Mechanicus biologists. Each creature is individually number branded for identification purposes. So let's say you're riding one of these things. What would you wear? What sort of weapons would you use? That's what we'll cover next. The Death Riders wear the same standard issue uniforms as the infantry, including the distinctive heavy greatcoat. The MK9 helmet is the same, with the extra badge attached to the front marking soldier as a Death Rider. The riders are selected for aptitude during the Death Corps Guardsman's training on Krieg and will have already undergone a rigorous series of exercises on the surface of Krieg before deployment to Vrax. As well as his uniform, a Death Rider wears an ornamental breastplate. This is a cumbersome item worn as a matter of tradition rather than practicality, and many units choose to discard the item, especially when on long-range patrols, in order to conserve weight. It is made of plasteel with a hardened chrome facing. The uniform is completed by the tall, hard-wearing riding boots. These boots are often popular with high-ranking officers, often men who have served with Death Rider squadrons in the past, as they are regarded to be much more comfortable than the now sometimes used low marching boots. But what do you use when you're on the back of a horse? Some things are similar, some things are the same as you would if you were a regular member of the Krieg Imperial Guard. The Death Riders' role as a siege regiment's reconnaissance force, as well as acting as a second wave shock troops during a breakthrough, means they must carry a lot of equipment. Squadrons can operate far ahead on the flanks of the main forces, and so must be self-sufficient. Saddlebags carry rations and other important supplies, such as chemical filters, along with bedrolls and spare ammunition. This Death Rider wears a Type V respirator unit, the same tone issued to Grenadiers, with the regulator unit inside a canister and one on the back. Now let's talk about the weapons. Their first weapon is the hunting lance. The Death Riders' explosive lance is 3.5 meters long. It's constructed of a hollow, lightweight metal shaft tipped with a spear point, which is also connected to the impact fuse of the weapon's shaped charge. This small explosive charge is constructed to direct the blast and fragmentation forwards towards the target and away from the user. Once detonated, the user is left with only the shaft, which is then discarded. The lance also bears the squadron's pennant. In close quarters combat against densely packed enemies, or in close confines, the lance is very unwieldy, and all Death Riders carry at least one backup weapon. After the initial shock, impact of the charge has been expended, a rider will reach for his sabre. The sabre is a long, heavy-bladed sword, used mainly for thrusting with the tip rather than slashing. The skewer is 95 centimeters in length, if you look at the blade. It is designed to resist buckling in the impact of a thrust delivered at the charge. The blade ends in a sharp spear point, and the bowel handguard gives protection to the hand from any counterattacks that might run down the blade or in for the hand. The grip's design causes the blade to naturally align with the arm when the arm is extended, in position for a charge using the point. The rider's third weapon will be a las pistol, but as you can imagine, this is a weapon of last resort. The heavy pistol is difficult to aim and reload, certainly whilst riding a horse, and thought to be pretty ineffective as a ranged weapon. Now, it's not just the Krieg that fight on horses, there are others of course. Perhaps most well known, the Rough Riders. They fill similar positions to the Death Corps of Krieg, acting as scouts, patrolling, and for quick hit and run. I dub them sort of light cavalry. Their horses, however, are a little different. They are cybernetic. They're also able to ride other mounts such as bikes. And on that note, we end today's video. What do you think to the alterations made to these steeds who have served warriors down the ages? Could they be changed even more? Or are they effective as they are? Comment down below.